Games, board games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. Really, if you listen to me, I'm talking about anything which can be defined as creativity. There's never a straight line from X to Y. Maybe along that line you'll die. I mean, hopefully not. But I'm sorry I mentioned it anyway. Here is the next bit. I'm going to say you might retreat or you might have to change things. I'll explain that a bit more after I've finished singing. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It's 10 a.m. UK time for Busy Beats and Board Game Leather. And episode 907, I'm going to talk about how progress is not linear. Now, this was inspired by a video that I was just watching. Um, I've been doing a lot of research and watching a lot of tips, doing a bit of, okay, what are other TCGs, DCGs, ECGs, LCGs around, and what are they doing? And hey, what are some tips that other people might say? Oh, is there anything that I can learn? And like lots of these things, you don't want to learn too much from, oh, that person do it that way, that person do it that. If you do things in exactly the same way, you might get to the same results. And we don't want to get to the same results. We want to get to a different result. Anyway, that aside, one person said, you know what, you can't do the same thing every week. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to make 10 cards every week, and then after 10 weeks, I'll have made 100 cards, and that's all hopefully be enough for the same set. But not only can you not do that, sometimes you have to go backwards. And I feel like that person didn't go far enough at decrying the notion of constant progress. I mean, we learn, we make stuff, and then we make one change, but then this change in the game affects everything else, and then maybe we change the other things around it. Cards come and then cards can go. We shouldn't be unafraid to throw things away. We can't just be saying, okay, my game needs this, and okay, my first playtest, I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to kind of carry on going, and every time I get like a little bit closer until finally I'm there. That's not how game design works. That's not, I mean, I was going to say that's not how anything works. I mean, maybe it's like how pixel art works. But even with a book, even if you're writing and you're like, okay, I want to write 1,000 words, and I'm going to type and I write 1,000 words, but then somewhere along the way you realize, well, maybe I've realized that this character needs to change. They are such a badass in like page 3. You know what? That thing that they did, that's not quite so out of character, and it's not like they changed as a character throughout the story. It's just that I got to know them, I got to understand them better as I was making the book. And it can be the same thing for a game. As you progress through the game, you might develop a deeper understanding of your mechanisms, and you can't just be saying, well, try that, then make another rule, okay, eventually I'm done. It's not a systematic, chaotic way. It's like, blah! It's like that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I like to quickly talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Yesterday, I've still been playing a ridiculous number of Board Game Arena games. Let's see if I can quickly maybe share some of them. So, yesterday was not a great day for me, I'm going to be honest. I was just, planning to go outside, didn't feel up to it. So these are all the games that I've already played. I've played 376 of them, 217 still to go. So I'm having a really interesting time seeing the commonalities, how there are so many fishing games, by which I mean Scopa and a lot of the Hanafuda style things. There's a few games here, I will admit, I played, and then I don't know if I've really played because I get to the end and I maybe don't understand everything 100% and I've just been going through the motions, but it's really interesting saying, oh wow, break the code. That's something that I've talked about before. I wouldn't have really examined it if I hadn't been going for every single game, but seeing that's out there and yeah, just playing so much cool stuff, I would say that there's a lot of stuff that I will definitely be trying again. There's a lot of stuff that I'm less excited. I mean, yeah, Schrodinger's cats. Honestly, like that's a nice little twist on the whole. Um, Liar's Dice. I can't remember the other name for that sort of thing. Look at the stars. This is just a gorgeous wee thing, and there's so much stuff here. And if I don't mention a game, that doesn't mean that I don't love it. It's just that the ones that I see, and I love all these abstract games. I never realized that Mark Steer had a ridiculous number of games. It seems like Mark Steer is kind of their own. I mean, honestly, there could be just a Mark Steer website, and I'm sure lots of people would go for that. But yeah, it's really nice seeing all these things. Rift Valley Reserve, one that I've enjoyed in physical format, and obviously this one I'm very biased about. But yeah, that's something that I been doing yesterday. Brilliant thing. What's the little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant thing is a soft blue sky with coverage, which is exactly what I've got. And sometimes it's important to whether does, I like the sky. I mean, you know what? The fact that we even see the sky, the fact that we're not deep underground. I mean, if you imagine, like, if you were in a cell and you couldn't see the sky, like, sometimes I know this might sound like, because of course you can see the sky, but no. I mean, imagine a world where you were in a cave, deep in a cave, and you weren't allowed to go out. There was, a jail cell. You didn't have your freedom. You couldn't go out of the cave enough to even get a glimpse of the sky. The closest you could get is that far off in the distance, there's a bit of light that seems to be natural light coming in, but you can't quite make out what's going on there. But you've got your electric light, but we don't live in that world. We live in a world where we can see the sky, and the sky represents freedom, and that's brilliant. Anyway, back to the topic. As always, feel free to comment, ask questions, ask from follow. And yeah, start off, do the thing, get as far as you can, just rush into it, because people talk about don't make your art too pretty because then you might not be willing to get rid of it. And there's a reason that people expect you to get rid of stuff. There's a reason that people expect you to start the game and then chuck stuff away and then start and carry on. Because game design, creative work is an exploration of what this medium means, what can be done within this framework. I don't want to use hyperbole. I mean, it's not quite like a discovery, but sometimes there is a sense of exploration of what can be done here. Could I have, if I've got cards going this way and that way, then what does that mean for the game? How does that work? What could actually work well with this game? Does it need a market rule? Does it need an auction in there to make sense of things? Does it need some set collection to give me some objective? I mean, maybe I've worked out some fun thing to do, but I can't quite work out what the objective is. Well, just go for it and get started and try things, try them out, try a different thing out, but be willing to scrap stuff. Even when you get right to the end. I mean, a game about selecting 7 cards, speedily searching for synergies, I was right at the end and I was thinking, well, at this point, I'm just working out the balance. And Raw Paris suggests, well, I know you said that you weren't looking for major structural changes, but how about this? And it's true. You can make those major structural changes at any point, even after a game's been released. Maybe you realize, oh wow, that could have been totally different. Maybe it becomes a second edition. Maybe it becomes a new spin-off game. I mean, maybe it becomes the difference between Agricola and Caverna. I don't know. And I think it's important to, in your mind, never be unwilling to say, yeah, I've made this, but it doesn't need to stay. Things don't have to be permanent. Things don't have to stay with you to have value. And I think this is part of the danger of a game designer, that it's like, I wrote this, I made this, I defined this, I brought this into being, I want it to exist. But that will lead to something. And the concept of it's about the journey, not the destination. I mean, yeah, it kind of is about the destination. I want to have a game that people enjoy, and I want to have a game that people are playing, and ideally, bring in some income so that I can keep making games. And that is the destination of each game. But within each thing that I've made, even if that small thing does not represent itself, even if it gets completely scrapped by the time we get to the final game, there was value in that. I mean, so many cards in Yogi, in the original version when it was called Redonkulous, where people were screaming and making noise, and last person to keep making the noise would win. And none of that came into the final game. There's nothing which is about these ridiculous challenges, but what that told me was, hey, this is what the game is maybe not. And that is as value as having things that it is, because everything that it's not, you can hopefully start chopping, start cutting, and be like, okay, well, that's a thing I'm never going to see again. And even if you are undecided, like if you've been working on your thing for a year or however long, be willing to say, well, this is an assumption I've made, and maybe that's not right. Maybe I should be re-examining this. Maybe I should be changing this, and it would be a better game. If that's like how you feel, if you feel like it might be a better version, then sure, take a few months, explore it, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you will learn. But what I'm trying to say, because this is a mishmash of a lot of other ideas, but fundamentally, game design is not a clear linear path. It's not even like little wibbly bits and eventually come to your destination. Game design is more of a okay, we finally get there, yay. And I hope that makes sense. Hope that's been useful to someone. For now, let me ask you the question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question is, when's the last time you undid something? So when's the last time you reverted on something? I mean, the only example I can think of is that yesterday I was planning to go out. I wasn't feeling up to it physically or, emotionally, and was like, yeah, I'm going to take a duvet cover day, but that's not as much undoing something as it is changing the plans to do something. So yes, I've talked about my deck construction game, and I'm actually trying to think of an example. You know what? I'm going to say a very small example. I bought some bread and I was like, yeah, this is not the nicest bread. And like, I'm grateful that I've got, enough wealth that I was like, yeah, just throw the last few slices away. This is not good. And I think, even though that might sound like it's about coming out of left field, I think that the desire to eat every slice of a loaf of bread, even if we know that this is not bread that we're particularly enjoying, could be seen as analogous to the creative desire to continue with every idea we've thrown in, even if it's not quite working out. I mean, I threw out some of the bread, but I still enjoyed the hummus. Honestly, I was just like dipping. I had like this hummus, like nice big top. Just enjoying the hummus on its own. And you can keep things in the game. It's exactly like that, where you decide, okay, this ingredient is working, and this ingredient, I've spent so long making it, but that's no reason to keep it. Chuck it out. Okay, so recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, it doesn't go, it goes, hopefully, and hopefully you get to that final destination at the end. But whatever you're working on, I wish you all the best. Lots of love. If you want me, I'm Stuff by Bez in all of the places. You can obviously reach out. I do always reply to all respectful comments on these videos. And you can also reach out to me on, I guess, Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or email or my Discord. Like, my Discord's a really good place if you want to have conversations with me. And I should be talking with Jess Medrincombe tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Lots of love once more, and bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye, bye.